Hey friends, and welcome to the 12th day of our 14th day of piano challenge. Every time I talk in this Airbnb, I realize how incredibly echoey it is. So hopefully it's not too annoying for you guys. And I hope you were able to, I know last night's last night's live stream was really late. So I know like my time it was 9 p.m. So I know that maybe that made it more difficult to maybe try out some of the things for you guys. So that's why today's topic is something that doesn't even necessarily mean that you have to record something. So if you wanted to do yesterday's challenge, which I encourage you to check out that video, it was super fun, where we talk about learning some pop chords and just spending 10 minutes noodling around with a pop song and using that as an avenue to experiment with chords a little bit. You could do that today. And then today's topic is about sharing your music or your piano playing in whatever capacity you like with friends or family. It could be, you share it with your mom. You keep it really simple. Maybe one of the videos that you've made so far for this challenge you're proud of or you like. So maybe instead of just sharing it on the Piano TV Facebook page, you could share it with your own personal Facebook page if you're kind of open to sharing like that. You could share like anything that you've recorded throughout the last 12 days. It could be anything else that you've recorded aside from that. But sharing your music isn't that in a way, I don't want to make grand sweeping statements, but in a way, isn't that what being a musician is all about? Music isn't meant to be hoarded personally. Like there's a lot of value to be gained for sure from just sitting down and practicing piano and enjoying it as a like solely personal experience. But music it has so much meaning when you share it with others. So I was talking to some of my friends last night, and we were just connecting about experiences of performing. I was hanging out with some musicians, and one of them was talking about just how sometimes late at night you get really interesting performing experiences where you realize at the end of a performance you have tears in your eyes and the audience has tears in their eyes, and it's really kind of a special experience to have. And I was just thinking about that right now, how so much about music is in the connecting with other people and sharing how you feel. It could be, you could share something that's like really lighthearted. You could share something that's more like deep and personal, but it's a way of connecting with other people, as well as just being a way to connect to yourself. And I think it's really important to explore the sharing side of music. I think a lot of times and I'm super guilty of this. I learn a lot of music and I play a lot of music, but I'm really self-conscious about sharing it, especially, maybe this seems contradictory, but especially with having a piano YouTube channel, there's this pretty frequent stream of self-criticism that I have to deal with myself, because if I put something out there on the internet, I'm like, oh man, like if this isn't good, then, I'm going to get judged by a whole bunch of people. It's not just going to be my friends. So I tend to be a little bit more private. Maybe I shouldn't be. You guys should let me know. But I record a lot of pop songs, and I learn a lot of pop songs, and just things that I'm listening to that I want to try out. And so I usually share those kinds of recordings with just like a handful of people at most. And that's my intention today. So I recorded before I went on my trip. I recorded Sweet Disposition by the Temper Trap. I was just listening to it the other day and it got stuck in my head. You guys ever do that? You get a song in your head and then you have to at least try it, because otherwise it'll just like gnaw at your brain. So so I want to send that to a few people, probably my band, because I actually think that would be really fun to do, like a cover of, like an actual performance of, but maybe not with like the wider world. Maybe those will be my maybe I'll make a point to be a little bit more courageous in the coming year and share some of those pop songs with you guys. If you're if you're at all interested, maybe I can do more sharing on Instagram. But yeah, just share your music. It's wonderful. Don't worry so much. And after saying all that, you're not going to take any of what I say seriously, but people really are so much less judgmental about these things than we tend to think. If any of you have ever performed, you might be playing something and you're like, oh man, that was such a brutal wrong note. And you have this like constant stream of like, you're just thinking through the experience. But that isn't usually what translates to an audience member. So someone listening to you play isn't thinking like, oh, there's wrong note number one, there's wrong note number two. So it's really just largely like a personal thing. People are generally assuming you know nice people, your friends and family are nice. Then in theory you're going to get the opposite of criticism. You get support. People will be impressed. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of courage to practice something like the piano, to pick it up. Like every Uber driver, not every Uber driver I talk to, but so many of them are like, oh yeah, I wish I did that, or like, I wish I played piano, or that sounds cool, or, a lot of people think about doing things like this, but you guys are actually doing it. You guys are actually learning an instrument. That's a really big deal. Like, so many people just don't for one reason or another, and it's a special thing to be able to share with others. So there's my my soapbox for you guys. Even if you just play, because, that just kind of scrolled up, but someone had mentioned, I just looked over, let me see if I can find it. No. Yeah, and you can definitely ask questions. I will try to keep it relevant to the topic today. So John is saying, I don't feel like I play well enough for someone to want to listen to me, but I wish I could. And this is a totally subjective thing. This is one of the reasons too I encourage my piano students to learn easy pieces, because if you can play an easy piece really well, it sounds like there's lots of preparatory level and grade 1 level music that if you actually like play it well, it sounds really good. Like, it sounds sophisticated, and a lot of people who that's why I love Christopher Norton. So his books. He has a micro jazz collection that starts easy, but his books pretty much start at a grade 1 level. But those pieces of music, like, people who aren't musicians or aren't piano players aren't going to listen to something like that and say like, meh, because they sound really, they sound like big and impressive if you're able to pull it off. Basically, I hear a lot of people do high level pieces like I'm going straight to the Debussy. I'm not doing any of this easy stuff. And then it's not like, generally the performance of it's really shaky. There's not a lot of like nuance or subtlety or texture or anything like that, because they just don't have the experience. But if you do something easier and you really nail it, then that can be really impressive. So it's not so much like, you have to hit a certain level in order to be able to share with people. And people are still, I think you'd be surprised by the positive feedback and support you'd receive. So Daniel's saying, I'm thinking about sharing with my mother. She's always blind to my faults. Perfect. She is a perfect audience member then. My grandparents are usually really good about that too. They just love everything you do. That's a really good starting point, especially if you're really nervous about sharing your music with someone. Share your music with people aren't going to be a jerk about it or be like, oh, nice. I don't know. I don't really know anyone like that in my life personally, but your mother, that would be a great one. Sunia is saying the experience of playing in front of others is great. If only it were easier. It does. Yeah, like, it's kind of nerve-wracking, isn't it? I don't know if you guys ever get like the shaky hands. That's another reason why playing easier pieces is kind of nice for other people, because if you're playing Debussy in front of people, it's really tough. So as soon as the shaky hands thing comes into play, then it can be a little bit of a train wreck. So she says, I'm just assuming you're a she. I tend to mess up because I get so self-aware. Yeah, I think that comes with experience. So the more that you put yourself out there and share your music, the less self-conscious you get. And I have to say, like, I've recorded over 400 YouTube videos, and I still get self-conscious and do like the inner narration, like the constant monologue. I don't know that ever goes away, but I do feel like you get better at, like in performing music in particular, you get better at just like being in the moment and having it be more of like a less of a mental experience and maybe even more of like a physical experience. Like, you're not really thinking, you're just kind of doing. But that does like come with experience, and I don't know if the nerves ever really go away. Okay, so I'm gonna answer one last Question. So Jules is saying, what's more important, natural talent or hard work? Depends on who you talk to. So Bach was a big fan of, like, he has a quote about, he basically just said, like, I worked really hard. Whoever is equally industrious will succeed as well. I think that's partially true. And I do think that, I think anyone can learn piano regardless of talent, but I think some people have, I don't know, maybe a little bit more of a knack to begin, so they have a little bit of an easier time in the early stages, especially. I notice this with my students. It's there's like kind of a standard timeline that it usually takes people to progress through things, and then every now and then there's someone who can kind of just like fly through the early stages. They've just got a little bit of a knack, and it's hard to explain what that is. It's not mandatory, but it does make things go a little bit faster for some people. But even if you don't have that, you can still work hard and become a fabulous piano player. So I don't want that to sound discouraging, because it's pretty fatalistic to think like, oh, if I don't have talent, then I'm not going to bother, because you still can. Anyway, it's been awesome catching up with you guys. Again, you should check out yesterday's live stream. That was a lot of fun. I was actually super nervous. Usually in situations like this, like I'm talking to a chat channel, like I see you guys on the chat, but there's no one here. Like I'm essentially in a room by myself talking to the computer. But yesterday was different because I was talking to you guys, but there were also people in the room. So yeah, no, it was really interesting, and we had such a great jam afterwards. It was almost a bummer. I was like, you guys might have appreciated some of the little jam sessions we were having. We did this like halftime version of Eleanor Rigby that was really cool. Tosin and Mars, who were the musicians I was playing with, are both excellent singers and improvisers, and it was super fun. So yeah, definitely check it out, and we'll catch up tomorrow with day 13. We're almost at the end. This has been a really fast 2 weeks. I don't know about you guys, but this felt really fast to me. It's been super fun. All right, take care, guys.